What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming. So let's just talk a little bit before people start piling in or whatever. I've got a list here. Sorry, you guys can't see it. I've got a list here of some alternative researchers, like Passio or Wilcock, those kind of people. And the priestess lived in LA for many years, and she used to be around these kind of people. And we're going to talk to her basically about who she knew, what they were like, that kind of stuff. So, how's it going today?
Good. I want to thank you for my breakfast. So, a gentleman once more. He came bearing gifts of food and definitely couldn't turn that away. And it's been great having Micah around, you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
I heard he slept well last night, which is good.
I did. Okay, so.
And shout out to Lucy.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Lucy. She should be watching. Hi, Luce. All right, so let's start with this. There's some people that I've written down a list, and I want to know, well, how many times did you meet Jordan Maxwell?
Jordan Maxwell, I met him 4 times, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So you guys in the chat, let us know if the sound is good, if you can hear us well. We do have air conditioning on, and I was wondering about the microphone volume. So let us know if we're on key or if we should do something different. And we got Jeeps up in the chat. He says, hey, Micah.
I love Jeeps. Okay, good. So, yeah, tell me about Jordan.
Okay, so I knew who Jordan Maxwell was a long time ago. So I grew up here where we are now in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Coast to Coast AM was on here. One of the first places that ever syndicated the show was Cincinnati, Ohio. So we got the earliest versions of the show. And I was listening to it since it started, which when you think about it, I was a little girl, so it was quite odd. But I was always drawn and attracted to that stuff because I had sleep paralysis, demon, as they call it nowadays. So I knew who Jordan was, and I was so excited to meet him, to touch him, to know him. And we met at a smaller fair the first time out in LA. He was definitely doing the fair circuit, and I understood that he was going with Gaia. He was in the midst of signing up with them at the time. And he was a legend to me. And the lecture that he gave that day, the first day that I met him, which is little known information, I think, is that his family used to own a large part of Washington, D.C., and that he felt through his bloodline, it was his mission to expose what was going wrong in Washington, D.C. And it was an excellent lecture.
Wow.
Yeah. And he blew my mind.
It sounds like something that he would say. Wow.
It was so amazing.
Wow, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's obviously one of the good guys.
You know, in the state I found our Jordan, he had been broken by life, and it was hard for him to have that hope or to have any. I mean, basically emotionally he was nihilistic at the point when I met him. But I want to tell you that I felt like every fan when I was with him. I didn't feel like just one. I felt like I was representing all of us. And I hugged that man every chance I got and gave him the love I think that he deserves and deserves. And that's why we do the memorial every year. But he was very kind. He was very self-deprecating. Like, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this praise. But he was red-faced with a big smile. So he was quite gleeful that this cute young thing, I was 40-something, but to him, cute young thing was just fawning all over him. Mm-hmm. And he and I connected in the sense, I told him something that he had said had really touched me in the conspiratorial political sense, that is evil and that we're fighting evil. And when our eyes really connected on that moment, on that purpose, that's when I felt like the justification that the next generation, me, and the generation below me, that it's all moving forward, that his life mattered, and that it was going to matter even more in the future to future generations.
Okay, so now I want you to tell me about Mark Passio.
Okay, so I've never met Mark Passio in person. I came to understand who Mark Passio was through Freeman TV, Freeman Fly. Freeman and Mark did, and Bob did a series of annual. Here, you want to get this? They did a series of annual For Your Mind conferences.
It's going.
And Passio is a huge part of that to help put it on and supported it.
We're going live right now.
He's on the phone with Christy. I see you guys in the chat. It's great to see you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, sounds good. Right.
I lost my place.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Mark Passio.
Oh, Mark, thank you. So look on my YouTube channel, guys, and search Mark Passio or search New Age BS. I actually did a watch along of one of my favorite Mark Passio things, the New Age bullshit talk. It was really excellent. So I met Mark's energy through Freeman, and also Freeman had a roommate who used to live with Mark, and I drilled him. Who is Mark really? What's going on there? And you know, the thing about Mark is obvious. It's obvious. He's angry. That's about it, you know. I think there was a time when he was into some kind of masculine group about men for men, but I don't know much about that. I didn't really get into it at the time when it was happening, but it was in my orbit, so I understood it was happening.
Okay, so
I'm impressed with Mark's work. You know, that I'm saying that.
Yeah, we said that. My 7th book is titled The Unbegun. It's what I learned from him. I learned that word from him. That's the word that the elites give people under who are uninitiated into the occult or things of that nature. The unbegun. That's what they call them. And I always stuck out in my head, and I loved it. So,
how about muggles? That works too.
Okay, so
can you guys hear Micah Dank? Is he as loud as me? Because I'm coming from my diaphragm. So I want to know if you guys can hear Micah.
Okay. Let me move up a little.
That would be great.
Okay, there we go. All right. So what about David Icke? What's the deal with him?
Oh man, I guess I saw David Icke after I saw Alex Jones. So I first came into Alex Jones around 2010, 2011 when the FEMA coffins were a big deal. You guys totally freaking me out with the FEMA coffins. And then Ike came around like right in my life, in my sphere, right after that. And I saw him on, I think, was it the old Whistle Stop? Some old British show. I might be confusing it with the Kate Bush thing, but it's something about Wimbledon. And he was interviewed, and I understood that he used to be a sports broadcaster. Interestingly enough, Jimmy Church of Church's Chicken of Fade to Black Radio also used to be a sportscaster.
Yeah, Jimmy Church has never had me on. I've reached out to him before, but he is who he is.
Mon chéri, hello. Thank you for checking the sound for us. That's great.
Okay, so Jordan Passio, you could tell, like even Jordan was broken at the end. He was broken down emotionally at the end. But Passio was angry. You know, if people are like in the public and they're just so happy, like that really can't be truth telling. I don't think. I think if you're a truth teller, you have to get all the crap that these guys been getting all the time. What do you think?
Well, yeah, because evil hates the truth, and it's an obviousness. Yeah. I got a little distracted too because I was going somewhere with that, but I don't remember the other person we started talking about.
David, right?
Yeah. So David was on the show. He was a sportscaster. Fade to black. Jimmy Church was a sportscaster, and he was on an. I need to go into this. He was on an interview. Jimmy Church was, and he was asked, "Why are you no longer broadcasting in sports? What got you into alternative radio?" And he said that he, unbeknownst to him, surprisingly, broke a story on air live as a sportscaster. He didn't mean to do this, about child sex trafficking and molestation of some sort. I have this video. I have this interview on my computer right now. So he said basically he was given the choice of pursuing that to help the children that were being hurt, or completely getting out of it and doing something else on radio. Guess which one he chose?
That's her.
Oh, hey. Hey, Rayo. Hello.
No, that's Lucy.
I know.
Okay.
I was trying to call her by her assumed name.
Sure. All right. So
Did you hear that? So that's how Jimmy Church got into radio in the very first place. He wouldn't rat out people who very much needed ratted out. He broke a story he didn't mean to break. And it was about children, you guys. So back to David Icke, who used to be a sportscaster just like Jimmy Church. So this is wheels turning in my mind.
No, he wasn't a sportscaster. He was an athlete, I thought.
Yeah, he was in the BBC, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a BBC dude. Okay. So he worked for them. He was part of the machine, dude. And that's why we're always like, he was part of them. Just like Russell Brand or Tucker Carlson. They're all, what I'm saying. Who owns them? Good question. And why does it all look the same when they're owned? But
a professional soccer player. See, I knew it.
Yeah, he did sports.
Okay.
But then he worked for BBC.
I almost had something with the BBC.
Wild.
I was doing these podcasts with this guy, Esoteric Thoughts. That was what his name was. That's what he went by. They called him Eso for short. He was a British guy. He had a very deep. Thank you. He had a very deep voice, very deep soul. Just an old soul, you could tell. He had sleeping problems, really bad sleeping problems, but he was an incredible interviewer. And he's the one that told me that my work had reached London, basically. He's the one who came back. He's like, yeah, people talk about it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So he invited me onto his show. So I did. And his show is actually the one and only show that I've ever debated someone on. I've never debated someone. Nobody wants to debate me.
Debunkmywork.com.
I'm literally out there asking people to debate me on this. And it doesn't do anything. But this one Seventh-day Adventist pastor did.
Oh,
and it didn't end up very well for him. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
I'll send you the link. So.
Well, David Icke was on the show. And he said, I had a spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. Right? And he described something like a Kundalini awakening. And you can look up Pandit Gopi Krishna right here on YouTube, and he'll tell you all about Kundalini and how it's spiritual fire, and it wakes up a completely different level of consciousness within the soul. So it's like graduation in a sense. It's one of the graduations we go through as a soul. It's very jarring, and it makes you sound and seem crazy. And we have both been through this spiritual fire initiation. And I believe David Icke when he told me he had been through it too. Mm-hmm. And then we had a discussion earlier today with Freeman Fly on the phone, and he was pointing out that David Icke didn't really talk about the reptilian thing. He said he saw a politician with black eyes. And then I know he went to Africa and he talked to the tribe people who told him about the lizard people and all of that. And then you were making some points.
Yeah, and to be just completely clear, I like David Icke. I've been on Iconic, their channel, before. I did an interview or two actually with Richard Willett. And one of my supporters she has a connection to Jamie Icke, David's son. And they both, Iconic and Jamie Icke, started following me, and I reached out to them a little bit. So I might be doing something with them in the future. So in no way am I shitting on them. And I want to be clear about that. We are going to have to talk about Bill Cooper. I didn't put him on.
Well, the thing is CFR Network mentioned Alice Bailey. What are you referring to? Are you saying that David Icke, Alice Bailey, something that Micah brought up?
No. It was David Icke and Barbara Marcinek.
I know. That's what I'm about to say.
Okay.
So this morning, he's like, lizard people, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, guess who talked about that first? Barbara Marciniak, Bringers of the Dawn, and the Palladian agenda and all that stuff. She called them Lizzies, the lizards. And we all saw, well, if you're old enough, in the 80s, you saw the television version of V, and when you ripped off their skin, these aliens, they were reptilian. And there were several, types of reptilian representations. And when you get to it, psychologically speaking, it's just the reptilian mind, the fight or flight. And that's exactly what they're trying to cause within you, in my opinion.
That's the higher thinking, the reptilian midbrain. I actually wrote about that. What you just said is in my first book. So what do we have, 24 right now? Let's see what we got in comments. Hold on. Because, let's see. Okay, hi, Lucy. Professional soccer player. He played for, I don't even know how to say that, Leicester. He's going to kill me. Leicester?
Yeah, something like that.
Leicester?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry was raised SDA. Oh, she should watch that video then.
What is SDA?
Seventh-day Adventist. She should watch that debate I did. Alice Bailey follows.
Do you know who Alice Bailey was? She was right under Blavatsky in the Theosophist. I showed you the Lucifer Theosophical Society picture.
You did. Unfortunately, I was maybe about 10 years too young to know those people, but now I'm going to look at it.
Oh, wait. It's from the early 1900s. I'm way too young to know these people.
Oh, okay.
We're talking like Aleister Crowley time. Oswald, hey, welcome on in. It's nice to see you here. Soul Taker 2, I see you. Fort Jones, hey, how you doing?
Oswald said, Occult Priestess, any experience with Ian R. Crane of Alternative View? I don't recognize that name.
No, I don't know what that is.
Give us a little bit more, Oswald.
Icke follows her teachings. Okay, so that is the United Nations agenda. So CFR Network is saying that David Icke follows the teachings of Alice Bailey, which goes back to the United Nations because Theosophy Blavatsky helped begin the United Nations as a social engineering arm of the New World Order.
Okay. This is like deeper than stuff that I know.
Isn't it awesome?
This is why I have you on, because you've got that experience. Those couple of years on me that you've been studying all this stuff that I just don't have in my head. Let's talk about. So I told you guys about David Icke, and I told you my friend Roxy. I don't know if she's watching. She's talked to Mark Passio. She's met up with him before. She knows him somewhat, and she's talked to him about me. And we were trying to have a get together in Philly. That was where it was. We were trying to have a get together in Philly because that's where they all get together and go to a bar and just meet up and just talk. Never happened because I had to move. But shout out to Roxy. And my connection with Jordan, you guys know. That's my connection with David. Billy Carson. Talk to me about Billy Carson. This is probably going to take up the rest of the show.
No, I won't let it. So full disclosure, I have never read a Billy Carson book. Ta-da! All right. How did I get to know Billy Carson? So Fade to Black. We just had this story about Jimmy Church and how he got into radio and how it was not a spiritual calling. It was not an awakening.
Mhm.
It was, holy crap, I want to save my ass. I better go over there with those people. Actually, Jimmy Church really wanted to be into rock and roll. And that's what I found with a lot of radio show hosts. They wanted to be rock and roll guys, but they got stuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we are talking about Billy Carson, who says that Thoth, the Atlantean, which never existed, by the way, is also Hermes, the Greek god, known throughout history under many different guises because he's a trickster. Ha, it's fun.
That's his archetype?
You think Loki's a trickster.
Trickster, that's a Jungian archetype, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
It is,
sure.
yeah.
But it is the tarot. If you could say the tarot is a Jungian archetype, but it was born way before Jung.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Again, we were having this conversation early where, I don't remember if it was you or Christine. I can't remember, but I was telling her, I was like, I love when people tell me all this shit is new age.
Right, we were saying that.
That was us,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Everything is new age. No, things are not new age. Yoga, tarot, astrology. These are before the concept of Satan even existed. That's how old this stuff is. How is it demonic and satanic? I just don't understand these people. But that's just me. New age, new cage, all monetized materialism.
Dun dun dun. Materialism. We don't bring up that
CFR,
word enough.
I think CFR. I think that's Noble. Noble, if it's you, shoot me a DM. Ian Crane was the eminent British alt researcher, more behind the scenes than Ike. The likes of
Thomas Sheridan. I like his lectures.
Presented at his Alternative View conference. Fantastic.
When Thomas Sheridan starts, the Irish guy,
Yes.
starts talking about fairies, I get so excited. I'm a pagan. So I don't know much about like his personal
Did you
life.
happen to watch the videos that I did with those interviews with the guy who talked about the Bach Saga? When I did the Bach Saga interviews? I'll send them to you. They're probably right up your alley. It's really interesting stuff. Hey, Trismegistus, Ford Jones. I don't know who's coming in from your side or
So
from
Ford
my
Jones
side.
is from mine, and he's Hermes. He's saying Hermes Trismegistus.
Right.
It means thrice great, the great, great, great Hermes.
Mhm, mhm,
So we were talking about Billy Carson. Thanks for putting us back on track.
mhm,
The only time I went on Jimmy Church, this is interesting.
mhm.
So Linda Moulton Howe, if you know who she is, and David Icke and me were
Mhm.
scheduled for Jimmy Church's show that week.
Mhm.
Okay. Linda goes on, no problem. Their show's normal.
Mhm.
David goes on, no problem. The night I'm about to go on for the very first time, then last time, electricity strikes the studio. And as soon as they're about to announce, and welcome, and I'm about to say something, boom, everything goes black. It was Fade to Black, the name of the radio show. And it's like a Metallica song. But I was like, oh my God, Hermes, that was the best trick ever. Here I am, all nervous, ready to fight, ready to go.
Mhm.
And boom, they had to reschedule me. So it was just me, Linda, and David that whole week.
Mhm.
So that was an important part of the story.
Okay. So
I got on his show
Mhm.
to say, period, Hermes is not Thoth.
that's what we were talking
And
about.
then
yeah.
he brought up his golden boy, Billy Carson's work.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me. You were telling me that, and I've shared this with people.
And
because
I
I've had
said
to
it was
believe too,
BS.
including my girl, is that there weren't tablets. It's one emerald tablet. One.
There is no Atlanteans of anywhere, anything. That was a freaking poem. So all of you guys who believe you were from Atlantis, think twice, please. But there's Freeman Fly's work. If you want to look more into Atlantis and the mer people, the fish people, and all that kind of stuff. But has this ancient wisdom filtered down through these horrifying rulers and what they put their spin on it. So if you think that you're getting a pure teaching these days, when you go to the bookstore, you are literally insane.
So then what's the alternative?
You have to do the work. You have to.
So Jordan said.
I'm the occult priestess. I take the title because I'm a really hard worker. And I want to know everything in the occult, the mysteries of God. I want to know thyself, and to know thyself best is to also get to know God. When you know yourself truly, then you know God. So, wow. I mean, isn't that what we're here for? And that's the thing. Materialism is an antithesis to everything I just said.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. This one's a little sensitive because I do like his early work. He did a video called The Source Field. It's when his book, The Source Field, was coming out. It was his promotional, what do you call it? It's publicity that he was doing. He was doing lectures about it. And his source field was so good. And that was when he was so good. We're talking about David Wilcock. And I'm going to talk about because David's always paired up with Corey Good. And I have a story about Corey Good.
Well, David was around a long time before Corey's ass came around.
Yep. All right. So tell people who, let's go through David Wilcock and let's spend some time on him because I do like him. I know my girl likes him. And I talk to Johnny Enoch from time to time. And he likes David Wilcock. So, to be honest with you, I do kind of like David. But I want to hear what's going on with him. So take it away.
Okay, I've met David Wilcock several times out there in LA. I showed the pictures to Danka this morning. I call him Danka. Micah Dank showed him pictures of me and David this morning. So I knew about David Wilcock way back in 2009, maybe. He'd been around a while, and he said he was the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. Did you remember that? Mm-hmm. Were you around for that? Because I don't know about the source field.
Oh, that was one of the first things I learned about him. That was one of the first things I learned about him.
Okay. I'm trying to find something worthy. So I share it like this, present, screen share.
Go to window.
What's that mean? Oh, I've never been here before.
Oh, no. Go back to Chrome tab. You're right.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
You have to go. No. Go back to it. Okay.
I'm making sure it's sharing. It's okay.
Okay.
So that's my face, yo. I was always touching his heart chakra, hoping God might jumpstart something within him. This is Space Invaders of Sirius B. And this is about, wait a minute. This is the willful cock sticks it to Gaia, because he came out at this time and said that Gaia were a bunch of Satanists. If you guys remember that. He was basically doing the Prince thing. He said, I'm not a slave. And you guys are like extorting money from me. And the whole story is here. But also,
can you tell everyone where they can find that?
Yes, this is Occult Priestess WordPress.com.
But do you understand most people's thing about Gaia is they think it's higher knowledge. People look at it and they
it's higher knowledge at the grocery store that you get off the magazine rack. That's the version of it that they're getting.
Really? Is there an alternative?
Yes, the real work. You'll have to read Agrippa. You have to read, well, Manly P. Hall is pretty easy, I would say, for a layman. But if your heart is really, truly in it and you are called to do this, you're going to find the way. The way will come to you. Throughout history, even if you were ignorant, you couldn't read at all. The way comes to you. So it's important to understand that. These are, okay, so I have to share the other screen. No, it's there. These are the other people I met out in LA. Laura Eisenhower, Daniel Brinkley. There's the Jimmy Church crowd. And there's David Wilcock. That's the very first time I met him, the very first day. Mm-hmm. And so he came out, he was doing the Edgar Casey thing. And then around 2012, he totally blew up and everybody wanted a piece of him. He was everywhere around 2012. And it was about, for me, what I saw was the ascension that they were pushing. That when 2012 midnight hit, we were all going to send into light bodies those who could. And those who were left behind like all the Christian movies about the rapture. So it's always the same plot, you guys, isn't it? So I understood that when he got with Corey Good and they started doing the blue chicken, what
How
did they
people
call
are
it?
blue chicken.
Blue avian alien birds is what they were from another planet. And they physically came here and they physically talked to, what's his name? The second guy.
Oh. Hold on a second.
Corey Good. They physically talked to him. And they had like these military meetings with the Blue Avians. Right. And it was a lot like Q, only it was more New Age UFO.
Corey Good, maybe 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I posted something about when the death is Sagittarius, and I posted about Draco, and it was some, I can't really recall, but it made its way to him somehow. It was shared enough that it made its way to him. So I emailed him. I emailed him a screenshot of the thing. And he emailed me. He was like, okay, so what is it that you do? And I explained everything that I do. I sent him a video, and I never heard from him again. Like 4 to 6 weeks later, not even, maybe under a month, all that crap came out that he came out and said he was just an entertainer, Corey Good. But now, why would Corey lynch himself to Wilcock? I've been trying to figure out.
What do you mean lynch himself? Wilcock was a big star. And so here comes this super soldier. So what I heard and was not there for were the message boards that Corey Good got in to the in crowd through the message boards. But I believe it's because the story was so crazy that it was like a Wilcock story. It matched, it fit. And I believe that Operation Camelot, Project Camelot was in there somewhere too. Like he was on their forums. So this all has a history and it's pretty much documented if you can find it on YouTube. But also look at the work of dark journalists when it comes to Corey's Kids is what he called them. Corey's Kids Inc. Because it's like a mini Hollywood factory that they're spinning out these, well, I call them new age authors and teachers, the people on Gaia. So it is a part of the brainwashing program of America. And if you don't believe me, let me show you the Rockefellers.
She literally is going to show you them. Hold on a second. What do we have? 33 people in here right now. 4:30 on what day is today?
It's a Monday, right?
It's a Monday.
Monday.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you. For those who can't watch it later on YouTube. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Okay, hopefully, kids at home, you can bring this up big on your screen. This is paradigmresearchgroup.org.
Rockefeller.
Okay, September 14th, 15th, 1993, meeting at Rockefeller's JY Ranch in Wyoming. And below, we will see the names of the MFers here with Rockefeller. So here's the Rockefeller, and he is the brother of a big Rockefeller. So he's not like one of the huge guys. What's his name? It's right there. Is it like Jonathan or something?
Left to right. So.
Okay, yeah.
Lawrence Rockefeller.
Is it Lawrence?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do left to right.
All right.
Henry Diamond. I don't know him. Dr. Stephen Greer is the tall guy, the funky guy in the pink shirt. Okay. He is the serious mystery guy. He is the C5 communicate with aliens guy. And just to jump the shark, I'm saying all this alien stuff is to bring about transhumanism. So
which is the age of Aquarius, which we all talk about.
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys already know because of Micah and maybe your own research, we hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so next to him is Dr. Bruce Maccabee, a staple on Coast to Coast AM. And
He's that really tall dude, right?
yeah, well, no, I think he's up on the thing.
Oh.
In the bag. He's standing on the riser. There's a riser. Okay, so George Lamb Lash. You guys know him? He's huge in Gnostic circles. He's basically the Gnostic guy. And that is bringing back Christianity in a twisted form, making everyone nihilistic. Okay? So, Robert Bigelow, I forget. Linda Moulton Howe started out with cattle mutilations from UFOs in the 1979-1980. That's one of the first things I ever saw that freaked me out with my mother. And it was like, oh my God, what in the world would aliens want to do with cow parts? And why are they leaving the rest of the cow behind to be studied? I mean, it just didn't make any sense. And because I had sleep paralysis, the nightmares, and my mother did too, we were always curious about things like this. Like maybe we'd find an answer one day if we looked into the mysterious, weird places.
Mm-hmm.
So after that's Dr. Leo Sprinkle, Keith Thompson, Dr. John Mack, huge. Look him up. Then it's Lawrence Rockefeller, Dr. C.B. Scott Jones, Johnny Jones, Robert Teets. What a name. And on the camera is Bootsy Gabriel, or behind the camera, Bootsy Galbraith and Richard Farley. And so if we can take this to the main page, it's an old website. A lot of the pictures are broken, but the links are not. So if you want to do your own video on this, let me know. Tag me. I want to watch it. I'll put it up on my channel too, if you want. So we need to work at this together, kids, because it's a lot of heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Moving. Okay. So where are we?
We did David Wilcock and Corey Good. Oh, there's more about David Wilcock and Corey Good. Maybe we'll save it for another show, but the Law of One is what David Wilcock's platform was. I don't know about the theory you were talking about that he came out with, but the Law of One, Don Elkins is the original channeler of the Law of One. And all that Ra stuff, R-A, Ra, the Egyptian god, is tied in with, or they have stolen Ra and put him into the Law of One. And I actually have proof on my blog, if I can find it. What's his name? Elkin. Of basically, this was already a New Age story going on, but these people who were telling the first New Age story about this were high magicians. High magic is a dark Abrahamic magic. And so they're doing it. And the Law of One comes out of this type of stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not used to looking at my blog live, so I'm trying to find it. There it is. Okay. So, guilty parties of the UFO ruse. Because I think Nazi NASA, Operation Paperclip, aliens are an invention of Aleister Crowley. Okay. So, Law of One material. And this is, they channeled it. And then will you read this for us?
The creators of the Law of One made this film. For my training, I had roommates that were high magicians, and they used the same symbology. There is no mistake. This is taken from Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley's teachings. Is the Law of One the one where every time they ask him a question, he starts by saying, I am Ra?
I'm not sure. It might be.
I think that's the same book.
Okay.
I read that one.
So Don Elkins died by his own hand of suicide. And this is the movie that they made. Brace yourself. Get the kids out of the frickin' room. That is some spooky Manson stuff from the 70s, dude.
Damn.
And that was them.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what David Wilcock comes out from.
I can't. You think they're eventually going to make a Taken kind of movie about the what do you call them? The caves in like Kentucky and all that?
Why?
Because that's a trafficking hub.
But I mean,
have you ever seen the map of missing children in the United States for a specific year, and then overlay the map of the cave system in the country? They overlap.
Wow. And there's underground tunnels under the White House, under all of France.
Everyone knows that cars drive directly under the White House. That's how they get.
Everyone knows.
Everybody knows that.
But there's tunnels, and the Masons built them. They did.
They did. They built everything, though. Okay, so let's go into Sitchin, because I know you have
Zachariah Sitchin.
Talk to me about Sitchin, because this is interesting, because Jordan Maxwell loved him.
Really?
Jordan Maxwell loved Zachariah Sitchin.
Well, we would have had a fight if I'd have known that. So, this is me and Truth Seeker and this girl talking about David Wilcock. You guys, there's shows on this. Like, there's whole detailed shows if you want more information. Mm-hmm. This girl was with the Blue Chickens, and then she turned Christian. I'm leaving the New Age to follow Jesus. So anyway.
And she tagged Truth Seeker, who's a Christian mystic.
Right.
I don't like Christian mystics. I have some of the best conversations with Christian mystics.
MUFON targeted summer camp school kids. Interesting. Because MUFON's been in trouble for that kind of thing.
Go back to the comments real quick.
Yeah.
Oswald Jordan Maxwell is dead. He died a few years ago. We do a thing every year for him.
Yeah.
Oh, they couldn't hear you with the sound. Oh, do you know why they do that, guys?
No, I messed up. Actually, it was me. I didn't share the screen correctly. But I'm a little concerned at what's in it. But whatever.
Yeah. So talk to me about Sitchin.
We need to show them this. Okay. It's really intense. If I can. Here it is. Beware, like, okay, we're getting the kids out of the room, right? Like, for real. Only adults here right now. Mute.
Freedom. That's what I'm looking for. Freedom. I gotta get some more. Living in the city, I know it ain't pretty and it's just not a thing you can do. I know it.
Welcome. I am bewilder all in my presence by the power and magnificence of my word. Who can come so near the Almighty?
If I could ever get away, but every time I run away, I turn around and you are there.
Wait. I question the ability of his astral shell to pierce the vortex of Etheria.
That's what I'm looking for. Freedom.
Reactions?
Yeah.
That is where David Wilcock came from.
Northern Ireland have kids water shed. CFR, very odd. Okay, so tell me about Sitchin.
So I learned about Zachariah Sitchin around the time of Laura Eisenhower because I had to go into Laura Eisenhower's story about Mars and Tiamat and all of these things and try to understand where that came from. because she was saying that her president that she was related to, Eisenhower, was the one that made the deal with the aliens. And
Supposedly,
this
that's the
is
story.
why we have social security numbers, because we actually belong to the aliens.
Where the
So
hell did that
anyway,
come from?
Hey man, you take one little fake story and then it snowballs into a whole genre. So Laura Eisenhower was telling the story about Mars and Tiamat, and there was this great space war. And I'm like, okay, what? So that led me straight to Zecharia Sitchin, where I think a lot of them got this. But there's a lot of cults back in the day before Zecharia Sitchin that were saying very similar stories, that we have been DNA manipulated, that we were created by an alien race, not gods necessarily, just an alien race. And then it goes back to some Bible stuff about Enki, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all that kind of stuff. And I think it's twisted, but the main goal of Zecharia Sitchin's aliens is to enslave the human race to collect gold. And I thought that is the most materialistic, unimaginative plot I could think of for existence. So that can't be true. There's no imagination whatsoever. It must be evil. But also, just intuitively, I know I'm a child of God, like for real. Like you could torture me for years and I would still believe it because I know it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, Mark Passio, between believing and knowing, and I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And these stories are things you will never be able to know. And that's why they're telling them to you. It's just another soap opera, just another propaganda to get you more into their agenda of social engineering you for the future, for what they want to do.
Okay. I think that's oh no, we have one more. We have Bill Cooper.
I never read To Behold a Pale Horse, to ride one.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Behold or what ride?
Behold a Pale Horse.
He's always been in my ear because everybody always, especially the boys, like that Bill Cooper. Even a lot of Satanists like Bill Cooper, believe it or not. What do you think is his major contribution?
What is God to you, priestess?
What is Bill Cooper's major contribution?
That he was killed, and his major contribution.
They are the powers that be. They are the dark ones.
Pretty much. That's how it was, yeah. So CFR says,
hey, Lighting the Void. Hey, man, have you had him on your show? Let me know.
Mm-hmm.
This is Joe.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so CFR says, what is God to you?
I believe in a big, overarching, ineffable, powerful force of love, God. And then I believe in the demigods like Zeus and Hermes and other pantheons.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe we're actually a big family. And the first ineffable form of God gave birth to the rest of it underneath it.
Isn't that Gnosticism?
Actually, it's just right. We had to evolve. This is what they don't talk about and people don't understand. We had to evolve through the different aspects of nature, mineral, all the forms.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go through all of them to eventually become human. But what you don't understand is that we had to de-evolutionize to be able to come down to become human. And that's a whole journey that
I thought it was just like a dive.
Doesn't cover.
I thought it was just like a dive from a high diving board. You just
they would think
your
that.
soul is, because every time they show you when somebody is under and they can't wake up unless they do something, they show them jumping off a tall building.
That's why you think that? Just that one thing?
I think that's where that comes from.
Oh.
What do we have here? 5-fingered beings. Is they deep state Rockefellers? They were like Gateway, yeah.
I think the deep state is the
They
state.
ruined the education department completely. The Rockefeller. What you're seeing in the school systems now That's Rockefeller right there. That's all Rockefeller.
It's known as the Prussian method, which
And-
means they torture the children.
And what Rockefeller also did was he got a bunch of newspapers to say, stop calling it oil and start calling it a fossil fuel, and created the scarcity. They did the same shit to diamonds. They did the same shit. It's the same story over and over again.
I think dinosaurs are fake. Debunk me.
Don't care enough about dinosaurs. It's prison. The truth of our astrological past is important. Thank you. Thank you. I can't believe I caught a live show. Micah, I need to go buy a lottery ticket. Do it. Play the
So
number.
I don't have much to say about Belle Cooper because I don't have a live experience.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, you know who I'll ask you about? This guy's not really on the list, but what did you think of Hunter S. Thompson?
My ex really liked him. So maybe I'm biased, but I think that Andy Crome, how do you say it? Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. You heard that he supposedly recorded a murder at the Bohemian Grove, right?
I don't know that.
Hunter S. Thompson?
I don't
Yeah,
know that.
supposedly he was a film guy.
I don't know. See, he's a disgusting person. So I really couldn't research him too much, just like Robert Anton Wilson was a pretty disgusting person. My father was an alcoholic, kind of a disgusting, kind of. I mean, he wasn't immoral and horrifying like these other people. But I can't research that kind of darkness. You know what I mean? It's a turn off. Complete turn off. But like Burroughs was an addict. All of them were addicts and had problems.
So was Alan Watts.
Wow.
Alan
The
Watts.
original Alan Watts.
Alan Watts was such an alcoholic.
Wow.
He basically sounded like Barney Rubble. But then when he would do interviews, he would just turn it off. It's the same thing when you see
That's
like
like-
older people with maybe Parkinson's,
Mhm.
and then you give them a guitar and then you stop shaking.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
It's like channeling though.
Yeah.
What are dragons? Draco. Yeah.
Hunter
Yeah.
Thompson experienced which Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is one of the most disgusting movies out there.
See, and people seem to like the gross stuff.
It's disgusting. The bathtub scene was disgusting. So they supposedly say that Hunter S. Thompson introduced the idea of adrenochrome.
It's in the book. It's in the book, guys. Go look it up.
But he didn't go into how to get it.
Well, he didn't say the whole child thing.
No, but
but
he just said adrenaline. That's all he said.
you know, the first time something really hit me in a Hollywood film that they might hurt children is when I was little, and it was Firestarter. They were talking about how they were going to kill the little girl and how he was just going to bump her on her nose and shove her nose back up into her brain when she was happy. And then he would suck all of her life energy out of her at that moment.
That's what Hocus Pocus is. Those witches are sucking the loosh out of kids. That's what they're showing you. Monsters Inc.
That's
Right?
the witchcraft that we say is bad witchcraft. That's not paganism. That's not Wicca.
Right.
That is Marina Abramovic. I mean, that's all of these people throughout history. The
You know how she became
vampires
famous?
and the werewolves. Yes, she was in an art installation she did, I think, in Paris, where she had a gun, a knife, and rope, and she was naked, and she said, "Do whatever you want to me. I'm here all day."
Yeah, that's exactly what she did. And there was other things too. There was like toys, and it wasn't just murder weapons.
I don't
There
know.
was,
I
like-
didn't
no,
see the
there
toys.
was like there was like French ticklers and shit. There was all sorts of weird.
I only
stuff
saw
there.
one article, and I looked it up. I mean, I came by mistake. She wasn't famous for being evil yet when I saw it because I'm into art.
Mhm.
But I was like, that
You want to know something funny?
could be beautiful if you think about
Remember
it.
when
but it
the
was
United States
terrible.
stopped sending money to Ukraine for a brief period of time?
No, I don't keep up.
All right, well, they did. And do you know what the president of Ukraine did? He said he was making Marina Abramovich his delegate, diplomat.
I did hear that. So that's
And then that shut DC up real quick.
so Zelensky said this bitch is going to put a spell on you if you don't give us money. Oh my gosh! With now, Aleister Crowley goes back again to spirit cooking. He's the one who wrote the recipe of Marina Abramovich's spirit cooking. It
Really?
comes straight from Aleister Crowley. I'm telling you, they're all in it together. If you go to the occult book section right now and you do Control F, Aleister Crowley, almost every book is going to fly off the freaking shelf. That's a good visual.
You know, I was under the impression that, hold on, if we don't understand it's real and learn how to combat it, it will be worse, right? I'm Micah and Jay explains spirit cooking. That's that picture of Lady Gaga and Marina Abramovich
With the lady with the chocolate on her.
That's spirit cooking.
Well, there's a lot more pictures than just that spirit cooking. I
What
covered
about the
it.
one with the fake blood? And they're drinking it with teaspoons.
That, but I think it was chocolate. There's ones before that. I covered it with Styx Hexenhammer 666 here on my channel. So if you look up Styx Hexenhammer on my channel, you're going to find Podesta, the Clintons, and Marina Abramovic talking about spirit cooking. It's all there. It's like a time capsule. And it was me and Styx Hexenhammer. It was pretty cool.
Here, where did the underworld gods come from? Like
The same place
Hecate
the
and
other
Persephone,
gods.
Hades, and all them.
So Persephone came from the upper world. She was kidnapped by Hades because Hades says she is phosphorus and full of light. And where was Hades from but the dark place? Now, it is the myth or lore or legend that the Olympians were given their own little thing to rule over, like Venus, which is not, I mean, it's really Aphrodite, but we don't call the planet Aphrodite, unfortunately, because the Romans, right? So Venus. They are a family. When you look at true mythological history, just like the Egyptians and just like the Celts, we're all family structures. And then they send their kids, us, here to Earth. And then, like, Jesus' kids, just the same, no difference. And then you work out the rules, the laws, and know thyself if you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to answer your question?
Yes. Okay, so let's get into this real quick. We're talking about Gail Thacker. It's the thumbnail on this video.
Right, Gail Thackeray.
Gail Thackeray and Russell Brand.
Okay, we're going to go into the big topic. Hecate is all over the alt research paraspace lately. Ooh, good. Maybe, she is the crossroads keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we are at a crossroads. Come on, Hecate.
Mm-hmm.
We could use some of that because we are already in the underworld, kids. This is it. This is it. I am Persephone and I proclaim we are in the underworld consciously right now. Okay, great. So we're going to go into the big topic, which means we're going to watch a bit of a video, kids. Do you want to say anything about what you saw this morning?
No,
or you just want me? Okay.
No, yeah. Let's get into this.
First of all, this is Conscious Life Expo, the place I went to every year for 7 years that I was in Los Angeles. It was actually on my birthday every year, if you can believe that. Except for the last year when Russell Brand got there. He screwed everything up. Anyway, you might know Daryl Anka, Bashar channel. Linda Moulton Howe, previously discussed and shown with Rockefeller. Shout out to Leo King. He's pretty cool. He's an astrologer. We scroll down. Oh, look, it's Jesus and Mary. Oh, my God, they're back. Let me spend all my money on them. Okay. Wow, they're really down there. So Del Bigtree's going to be there, guys. That is crazy. Does he know what he's getting into? Someone warn him. Okay. Whitley Strieber, you should know him from Communion, the film with Christopher Walken. He wrote the book and he had his own show forever. And my friend was on it. So there's Sasha Stone, y'all. Brad Olson. Well, I know him. You might not. There's Dannion Brinkley, the guy who died and came back to tell us all about it. I've met most of these people. Let's see. Who are we trying to? Gail Thackeray. So Sarah Adams, you guys know I hung out with her. Shout out to Sarah and Max Spears. So we are here. We got finally to Gail Thackeray, who was at the fair every year I was there. And she was also at the Russell Brand engagement that I went to. I went to all of them. She was only at one of them. So we're going to get into, first of all, okay, the John of God cult. So if you've never heard that of John of God, you're going to get a little background so that you can have some context on who Gail Thackeray is. So this is Space Invaders of Sirius B. And no, is this the right one? I don't think so. Hang on. Let me find the right one. How do we spell it? Thackeray? Yes. Yes. So this is cult versus occult. There's an entire show here that I did with Gigi over on the Fringe FM. Shift Happens. And other people mentioned are Russell Brand, Jared Leto, who is starting a cult, John of God, and Gail Thackeray. So we're going to go down to Jason Burmis and Robin Beliski, and they're going to tell us about who John of God is, and they're going to bring up Gail Thackeray. Maybe we should do the short one first, and,
Sure.
and then we'll do the longer one. Okay, guys, here it comes.
Earlier this year, it was in about May this year, where the trauma of that time, on top of the other traumas I'm still trying to heal, were coming up. And it was undeniable that I needed to deal with it. And that's when I decided to share my story. So I so much wanted it to I wanted to forget about it.
You went in a process of denial.
Completely, until this year. I've been in a denial for 4 years. And I told basically nobody.
So there you saw clips of John of God doing what they call psychic surgery. If you're not familiar with psychic surgery, you may be familiar with the film, Andy Kaufman's story called Man on the Moon, where at the end he's trying to get cured from cancer. He goes to a foreign country and he works with a psychic surgeon, and he sees that it's a sleight of hand trick, that he's not actually being healed. And that's when he knows he's going to die. So this is Jason Burmis and Robin Beliski. You can follow her on X as well as Jason Burmis. And this is about the John of God cult, which we're going to talk about in particular the cult member, Gail Thackeray.
Right.
Hey everybody, Jason. There are patterns in how they are connected. That is how we got acquainted, was through NXIVM. And you look at NXIVM and how a lot of that has already been whitewashed, and how now we're postponing the hearings of when we're going to sentence these people. And Claire Bronfman has already negotiated a deal where she gets 21 to 72 months. If she gets more than 27, she can appeal. Oh yeah, here's $5 million. I think it was $5 or $6 million payout on top. And then she paid 14 plus million for everybody else's legal fee. Raniere didn't even put on a defense. I think there's a lot of problems there. Emmanuel Salinas still doing everything he's doing. Who is it? Mac's girlfriend or wife or whatever you want to call her, whatever she was, is still running around behind the scenes, probably running NXIVM with others. But that's why we're talking about John of God, not to talk about NXIVM per se, but how the John of God network still exists. I mean, this is a guy that it was in the news really rapidly about a year ago, right after New Year's, late January into February, and child sex slave ranch. I mean, these headlines were very real. He had big connections to those like Clinton, Oprah, others. The media was well aware of this guy. And if you saw the thumbnail, there he is with Marina Abramovic, and we're not really going to get into her, but not a very savory character.
No.
And you've been digging into some research that not only does this network exist, but this guy's probably getting out of jail.
Yes, according to Gail Thackeray, who is like one of his followers, and she's been running his live events for quite a while. Interestingly enough, I had no idea that 4 of my Facebook friends are friends with her. So somehow it came up in my feed. I saw her promoting, actively continuing to promote his healing crystals, the herbs, trying to sell them, I guess like 50% off, like a clearance sale, I don't know. But she's still running. Like one of the posts I'm reading right now, it says, just got word that the Casa is doing distance healing herbs again. Ever since John of God has been gone, the Casa has continued with the sessions, and the entities continue to work directly with the people. Some people obviously have gone onto her page and are calling her out and him out and saying, how can you still support this person? Didn't he go to jail? And her comment was, and this is, I think I sent this to you, and this is what kind of pulled me in, and I started researching it again. Regarding John of God, they could not substantiate any sexual claims. They gave him 4 years on a gun charge. An antique gun that had never been fired. And he's expected to serve 1 more year on the gun charge. And then she says more here, and there's like a link to his John of God page. But I had no idea about the gun charge. And it just made me realize whatever happened to the buzz about John of God. Like, we've heard nothing since February. So I just started digging.
And what did you find? Because, let's just talk about this guy. He had huge connections, right? Mm-hmm. Can we talk about some of the connections? I mean, you were naming some pretty big ones prior to the show, but Gal Thackeray herself, I mean, she's this author who's selling this book here, Running with Wolves. Looks pretty sexual.
Yes. Yeah. She had her own, I think it was a phone sex business. And she also had ties. She was running an adult sex company for the mob. And she had some run-in with Larry Flint. I don't know, all kinds of weird things there. But what I find really interesting is that she was an actress, and she went on to be represented by Creative Artist Agency, CAA, which is one of the biggest out of Hollywood. And Michael Orvitz, when he used to be an agent, represented her. And as you know, Disney. And so the reason I find that so interesting is because when ABC was doing an expose on John of God, when all this stuff started hitting the fan, or actually this might have been back in 2000. This was back in 2005.
Yes.
They contacted the skeptic, James, what is his last name again?
James Randi, and he had the Randi forums. And the Randi forums used to go after myself for videos like Loose Change. But basically, he did a lot of good work against fake psychics. For instance, he exposed people like Uri Geller, who later we found out worked for intelligence agencies such as the Mossad. Weird. Oh, people didn't know that Uri Geller is a Mossad agent? Oh, that's right. And he was actually doing work with the CIA prior to that, and they cut him off after they figured out that he was actually working for the Mossad. James Randi, if you watch that documentary of him, tried to get him into a controlled environment for some of his hoaxing, such as the spoon bending, which he was famous for, and was unable to do so. So in that respect, he did do some very good work, but he exposed John of God, and they didn't run with it, did they?
No, he was so mad. He spent an hour with them and debunked everything, including that whole nose thing he does with the scissors, and explained in great depth about, like, if you go up 4.5 inches, it's like a safe zone. And it was like a trick back from like India years ago. And they basically only went with a quote that he was quoting, I think it was Ben Franklin, and they took it out of context and made it sound like it was something he said. But now that you look at it, because it was on Dr. Oz and that's an ABC show, you can't help but wonder if Gail Thackeray, who had ties to Orvitz, who had ties to Disney, who owns ABC, like, is that why they shut it down and they didn't let them run with it? Probably. I thought that was interesting.
No, it definitely has that connection, and it shows how the media selectively reports certain things and hypes other things. I mean, we're sitting, neck deep in Russia Gate still and Ukraine Gate, but nobody wants to show Joey B talking about how he was on a plane in 6 hours, and if you want that billion, Ukraine, you fire that prosecutor. Haven't seen that video on CNN, CBS, Fox News, ABC. It's really weird how that works. And of course, we saw a similar thing with Epstein and ABC Network and the hidden video there. But the truth is, James Patterson, the most prolific and best-selling author in the country at that time, put out a book called Filthy Rich, exposing a lot of what still isn't being reported today, and those media networks won't touch it. They didn't touch it when George Mitchell, Glenn Dubin, and Bill Richardson were named, less than 24 hours before Epstein killed himself. So I'm not really counting on the media much, other than to get bits and pieces of the story before it goes too far, and they rein it in. And this story certainly seems to have been reined in. So why don't we talk about that? Not only, we have video. I don't know if I want to show the video to the people, but basically behind me, I'm going to show them a still shot. If you want to see this procedure that you just talked about of cutting somebody, basically, this woman is screaming. You said that there were a couple of deaths that have never been explained, have kind of washed away. And let's not forget, a lot of this stuff is taking place in third world, where it's maybe a little easier to buy off your local politicians and contain any kind of media outcry until it hits an international level. And now that it has hit an international level, all of a sudden, it seems to me, because of his connections, it's almost gone away entirely.
It's funny you say that, because there have been reports that both presidents or two presidents of Brazil had actually gone to see him. So you can't help but wonder if, when they say they went to see him, there wasn't some kind of a relationship going on there. There was something else I wanted to say about that. So basically he was doing these visible healings where he would put the scissors up. But when it came to high profile people that were contacting him to cover him for like a journalistic piece, he would only do invisible healings. He was very careful. The invisible healings were the long distance healings where he would literally tell them, you have to meditate, you can't have sex, you can't eat certain things, you have to take my herbs, which cost money. And then they would claim, like, Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, did a long distance healing with him. I was listening to a video where Wayne Dyer was saying, like, his son looked at him after this visible session, invisible session, and could see that his eyes had been scraped and something to do with his pupils. And I don't know, the whole thing was just bizarre. And of course, we know that Wayne Dyer did end up dying eventually, I think, of cancer. Do you know?
I'm not sure. Again, with these people that claim to have superpowers and have these large followings, and they're a conduit for these superpowers, you better be skeptical out of the gates. When they tell you they're the smartest person in the world, like Keith Raniere, when you have a guy like this that says that he can heal people, not through modern medicine or technology, but through the will of God, yes, be very, very wary. I've never really gravitated to cult-like figures, thank goodness, but I think it's systemic of the fact that we live in this sensationalized infotainment, celebritard culture where we already kind of have all these ideologues through celebrity.
Jason Burmis, everybody.
Damn.
And Robin Valiski. I can't say her last name right. Sorry, Robin.
Dark rituals. This is left-handed magic. Howdy, OP. Oh, Jerry Cthulhu is here.
Hey, man, how you doing, Jerry? How's Florida? Oh, sorry.
Okay, anyway, so tie her into Russell Brand to the Conscious Life Expo.
Dun dun dun. Russell Brand. Are you a fan? Did you just recently become a fan because you saw him with Tucker or Alex Jones? Huh? Do you remember a few months ago, which seems like a week ago, Russell Brand was accused of having sex with an underage minor, and then boom, he blew up. He blew the F up. Did you guys see that? Because I did. So we're going to share screen again. And stranger danger. So I had 8 mutual friends with Gail Thackeray. I say Thackeray. It's Thackeray on Facebook. And she was also interviewed by Tim Ray. I did his show a few years before she did it. But then I showed Tim Ray this blog, and he never got back to me about it, but he gave her press. So that was interesting. Gail Thackeray, sex worker, cult enthusiast, and New Age teacher, gifts Russell Brand her book at Wanderlust in Los Angeles during a Mentors in Recovery talk. Gail states she's going to beg him to be on her podcast, hashtag finding your sexiness. And I said, finding your Satan-ness. He did not go on the show, but man, I was there. I was there that day, that night when she was there. And I saw her all over him, trying to manipulate him. And it was like any woman that manipulates people. There was nothing spiritual about it or amazing or even charming. It was more desperate. If you can see maybe the look on her face. But also look at this, the clothing that she chooses to wear at psychic fairs. I mean, and there's Wayne Dyer, who was just mentioned, but she looks like a Vanna White or something. Like, ask yourself, would a light worker or a daytime hooker wear this outfit? So you understand, out there in LA, it is a show. You have to be a movie star looking person and have the most ridiculous story, and then you're in. And so it is about selling out, selling yourself and selling out. And maybe at one point, Gail was a nice girl, but not anymore. So if you want to see more about...
what were you saying about her in the Conscious Life Expo? And
she bought out the whole back page, which is in the thumbnail, which is what you see, where it says Stranger Danger. That is the entire back page of Conscious Life Expo's magazine that they sent out. And there's people that you would know, like Sean Stone. There's
Sean.
Yeah, there's people that aren't even necessarily like New Agers or spiritual or whatever, that they're stars, so they still come to these events. The last time I saw Sean Stone in person, he was running towards Russell Brand with his new girlfriend to show her off or something. And I was running the other way to get away from Russell Brand. So that's what happened there. But these are the people and the products, the people for sale that you will find at something like Conscious Life Expo. But I believe in, it has been said by Alan Steinfeld, and I have it on video, that California, Los Angeles in particular, is the, well, I call it the brainwashing hub. But he said this is where the information comes from, and then it goes out all over America. So he's saying these stories, these narratives of the United Nations, New Age, New World Order takeover of the one world religion starts in Los Angeles. And that's why God put me there to report to you so that you could know, and also so that you don't have to go through that yourself. I
Okay,
did it.
So we're an hour and 20 in. Hold on.
Oh, Florida's awesome. Great. Woo!
Brad was also in the 2012 Ritual Olympics opening.
Oh my God, he sure was. And so he did Sergeant Pepper, which is that whole Tavistock Beetlejuice, the Beatles brainwashing with the Maharaji. So understand that was a Tavistock thing. And Russell Brand is also a Tavistock product, branded for life. And during that show, isn't that always also the 2012 Olympics, the one where they had the death doctors with the syringes and the children in the bed all dancing on the stage in the blue light? But he was the so Russell was playing the Pied Piper. He had recently written a children's book where he is the Pied Piper, taking them away
R.
from
Kelly
their
called
parents.
himself the Pied Piper too.
R. Kelly? Well, then it must be code speak.
Well, what is the Pied Piper, guys? Is Pied Piper not the guy with the flute that leads all the children away? They throw it in your face. R. Kelly, Aaliyah, age ain't nothing but a number.
The only
It's like
book,
the only way you can get big is to be a pedophile.
Thank you. Didn't that guy tell us, that guy that was like confessing about the Illuminati? He's like, eventually I had to stop because they wanted me to kill a child and I couldn't
saw
do
that
it.
video too.
I hope everyone saw that video. Oh, hey, Lisa. How are you doing? Lisa's an astrologer. Maybe you should have her on sometime and you guys could talk about the stars. So, Lisa, everybody's on Facebook, including Micah. So go ahead and look them up. Lisa and I also have some really cool mutual friends. They're going to steal your loosh if you even watch it, dude.
Well, this is why you don't fall asleep with the TV on.
Ever. Or the radio, for them, you know, or the Wi-Fi sometimes. But, you know, the things that had the syringes in the Olympic video happening, they looked...
Nate Gillis. What's up, brother? I'll text you in a little bit.
They look like Dementors from Harry Potter.
What do?
The syringe-carrying wraith-like ghosts that were on the stage at the Olympics with the children.
Yeah.
They look like big Voldemorts. The wraiths. It's a wraith. I mean, Harry Potter lady took everything and gave it new words, but all those things are already things.
So I'm going to wrap this up in a few minutes. Been on about an hour and a half. Priestess, do you want to just take us through all your socials, where they could find you? Guys, the reason I did this episode, by the way, today, aside from the fact that I actually happen to be here in Cincy, is I made a list of all these alternative researchers, and she's been at it 10 years longer than I have. She went over, we did a video on Thoth and Hermes and how they're not the same. We did all that.
That's a really good one, you guys.
That's a good one too, you know, and I had her on because I wanted to find out about these researchers, because a lot of them I've had encounters with. So just tell everybody where they can find your information. Okay,
this is occultpriestess.com. Welcome to my website. It's been here a very long time. You can get a tarot reading or a counseling session. But before that, you can watch my videos and you can read all about me. I do not have a book out yet, but I do have a manuscript. And as you can tell, my website's so long, I must be a writer. And this is a good one in the tarot. It's a cheat sheet. It's a short thing. Know thyself is the fool. The magician means will thyself. The priestess means explore thyself. The empress means love thyself. And the emperor is rule thyself. And I think that hopefully we're all at that point where we can kind of knock on the emperor's door and say, hey, I would like to learn about ruling myself instead of an oligarchy, a plutocracy, a government of one, of sovereignty. So there you go. That's my website, occultpriestess.com. I'm also on Rockfin, rockfin.com. You can see me there almost every Saturday night. We call it Catterday Night Live on Rockfin. and come on in. We usually watch a film, or we're watching a long series of clips to understand a concept, to get the history of it, and to understand where it is now. I also make some kick-ass videos with music, lights, and sound.
Look at this one. The world fairs are also giant rituals. There are levels to it. Remember the incubator
We were
story?
just talking about the world fairs this
The
morning.
baby incubators. Do you remember that story?
You mean that they took the babies out of the incubators, but they actually didn't?
That whole story. I don't know
Yeah,
much
yeah.
about it.
Yeah. What about that? Doesn't. Yes, world fairs. We were just asking Freeman what was the guy's name that had the alternative history that was on his show, and it was Stephen Vespar, I believe, is what his name was.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree. The world fairs. Maybe that's where you heard it. I don't know. Maybe you've done your own research. That's really cool.
Anyway, guys. So I'm sorry. I'll finish out where they can find you.
Occultpriestess.com, Rockfin, Catterday Night Live, emails, and all that other good stuff. I'm on X.
You guys know where to find me, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace out, yo.